So there's a very good reason that everyone's talking about Kylian Mbappé. Honestly, if you have not seen him play, if you haven't seen France playing, you have got to do that. He's extraordinary. The speed, his vision of the field, how confident he is. Like those moments where he just touches the ball and then everything shifts on the field. And we love moments like that. Actually, I personally think that we are wired for them. Like we love breakthroughs. We love it when there's a person who rises above everyone else, or, the player who scores, or an entrepreneur who suddenly makes it, and an artist who's an overnight success. Like those situations, the family that we know that's always got it together, doing great things. We love those breakthroughs, right? But while everybody was watching Mbappé, I actually found myself watching something very different. It's like I kept finding my eyes just drifting over the field, away from where the action actually was, toward the players that most of us are actually never really paying attention to. And I started wondering, what if the real story isn't the breakthrough? Like, what if the story is like everything and everyone that just quietly led up to that? That made that breakthrough possible. Because I don't think that that's only football. I'm always looking for these parallels. And I think that dynamic is what's true in our lives, in what we think is just ordinary. And that's what I'd like us to talk about today. So one of the things I've noticed about us as human beings is that I think we naturally look for the hero, right? We're looking for the one whom we can look up to, the role model, the one that's doing what we dream of doing. And that's not a bad thing. It's wonderful, actually, right? Like our heroes inspire us and they remind us of what's possible. They stand for that, right? And Mbappé deserves every bit of admiration that he is getting. He's breathtaking. But here's what fascinated me while I was watching France in all the games up to now, right? The more brilliant that Mbappé looked, the more genius his playing was, the more curious that I became about all the people around him, like his whole team, the context, because that brilliance does not happen in isolation. Like every run that he makes, there's someone who's anticipated it. And every opportunity he's taking or that's being created, someone helped to create that. Like he's not alone. All those spectacular moments, there's like dozens of quieter, subtle, almost normal events underneath that we're not even seeing or we're not paying attention to. So like someone held their position, or they covered a space that hadn't been covered, or they made a simple pass instead of one that was really risky and flashy, right? Or someone trusted the other player instead of trying to do it all by themselves, like they entered into that teamwork. And I think that those moments that don't make the reel, like don't make the playbacks, I think that they're incredibly important, because without them, you wouldn't have those highlights. Like those big moments wouldn't come if you didn't have all of the moments, the synergy that led up to them. This is what struck me the most about the way that France has been playing. It's not simply that they're talented. I mean, they're amazingly talented, but there are many teams that are talented. It's actually that they seem to, I gotta say, trust the ordinary. Like they lean into their normalcy, what they know. Think about it. They trust that simple pass, or they trust their positioning, like where they and where their teammates are in the field. They're trusting that someone else will be where they're supposed to be. And there's that rhythm that they seem to have, that they're leaning into and they're relying on. No one seems to be trying to rescue it or be the most dominant one. Like there's a cohesion, and no one looks like they're thinking, I have to do something spectacular right now. It's almost that if they keep trusting the ordinary, like the things that they do exceptionally well, that something extraordinary is going to come from that. And it usually does. But that really takes actually humility, because you're not trying to stand out. You're trusting that your contribution matters, even when nobody notices it or it's not on the big screen, right? You're relying on what you're bringing to the table, and you're relying on what everybody else is bringing to the table. Personally, I think that that's a great definition of teamwork. But I want to ask you a question. I'm curious. Have you ever been part of an organization, a team, a family, a group where everyone celebrated just one person's success? And at that time, like, you knew that they deserved that, but that there were a whole bunch of people that were actually making that happen. And as I said, maybe it was a family, or it was a sports team, or a business, or it happened in your community. And if you have an example like that, I'd love to hear about the people that helped make that event take place. The ones that were quiet, the ones that maybe nobody else paid attention to. I'd love for you to share that in the comments, because I think that those people, the ones that are carrying the big moments, the ones that are contributing to those breakthrough, they really deserve to be acknowledged too and celebrated, right? So watching France play makes me wonder if we do the exact same thing in our own lives, right? So we trust the breakthrough. Like when we make it big, sign the contract, have the big family event or the marriage or the promotion or wherever the big thing is. I don't think we're actually also trusting what got us there. Yeah, we trust the big moment, but I think that we become impatient with the little daily bits that got us there, the conversations, the tasks that we really didn't want to do, the phone calls, the trips, all the little things. If you think about a partnership, it's the cooking the meal together, doing the laundry, running to the grocery store, that leads up to those big events, right? And we want the relationship to suddenly feel effortless, right? We want our health to suddenly improve, or for the business to suddenly take off, right? Or we want to suddenly feel confident in ourselves. But there's a whole lot that goes into that suddenly, right? It's like we think that one magnificent moment is going to change everything. And absolutely. I mean, those events, those situations, they're impactful. And my gosh, we love to have them. We should not be without them, right? But I really think that if we look at life as a whole, our own lives, society, sports teams, whatever, I think that those breakthroughs aren't something separate from the ordinary things, from the daily things. I think it's actually those things that make it happen, right? So when enough ordinary things, or when we're moving enough in our normal ways and trusting that the contribution we bring is valuable, that's what makes those special times happen. Yeah? Every conversation you choose to be honest in, or every morning you didn't feel like it, but you got up anyway, or every promise you kept to yourself and didn't tell anybody about, right? All those, small decisions or actions that nobody's paying attention to. It's our daily lives. It's just life. And they're not dramatic, but we don't really pay attention to them. Until that one day when someone or something happens and then it's suddenly a breakthrough. But all those pieces made that happen, right? That one snapshot was the big thing, but everything led up to that. And watching France play this amazing game the way they're playing it, I wasn't just watching those, 11 talented footballers at all. I was watching that they were actually building something that's a lot harder to build. It's really building trust with one another. And I mean, they're in the highest stakes pressure, like World Cup, right? Hundreds of thousands of people watching them. And not that they were trusting that Mbappé would save them or that one person would show up. Yeah, not even the keeper, but that the team, that everyone would do their part. And trusting that those simple things, those consistent things mattered. Yeah? No one on the France team is trying to force greatness. Not even Mbappé. He's just great at what he does. I love that. Right? Because I think we spend so much of our lives trying to do it all by ourselves and trying to be extraordinary or stand out or get the breakthrough. And that doesn't always work that way. So what if the invitation is to appreciate and welcome the daily things, to become deeply reliable, to trust one another, to trust those ordinary moments or the consistency of what we bring to the table, to trust that what seems insignificant as a choice, they're actually building blocks, or they're weaving the fabric together of something that tomorrow or in the future is going to really contribute something larger. And I think that's what France is showing us. There's something really beautiful, I think, watching people who trust one another. We've seen that a lot in this World Cup, but France is just portraying that so beautifully. They don't seem rushed or desperate. There's just this kind of calm, I don't know how to say it. There's a fluidity. They don't look like they're trying to prove themselves every few minutes. There's this steadiness and a quiet confidence. It's as if each one knows, I don't have to do everything. I just have to do my part. I mean, can you imagine if we all live that way, right? In our families, especially as a parent or even as a kid, feeling like you're responsible for everything, or in our friendships, if we knew that the responsibility for the relationship being successful was on both of our parts or all of our parts, or in our neighborhoods or communities, right? So what if we didn't wait for some extraordinary person or event to fix everything, but it's more than saying, I have to do my part. It's really trusting that everything that I do or you do or we do together that seems ordinary or normal, that kind of being responsive, that kind of kindness and personal excellence, that weaves a really strong fabric, that brings a strength to the whole. And that fabric, that becomes so strong that it carries all of us, to keep that metaphor, right? When we trust ourselves that way and one another, then we have a cohesion and a fabric that really can carry all of us. So, should we celebrate Kylian Mbappé? Absolutely. Celebrate every single breathtaking goal and the moments that make us jump off the couch or holler with joy, that all deserves to be celebrated. I'm not saying anything other than that. What I just want to share is that I think what France is quietly reminding us of every single time that they're stepping on the field in this World Cup that we get to watch is that greatness doesn't begin with the breakthrough. It actually starts building with trust in one another and in their preparation. And as I said earlier, in a simple pass, in all the teammates that don't make the headlines, right? The names that we don't remember, but, like we do Mbappé, but that if we didn't have them, they wouldn't be winning. So it's trusting those ordinary moments that don't really look important, because whether we're watching football or soccer, if you want to call it that, or we're raising kids, or we're helping people heal, or building a business, or just going through our own lives, those big breakthroughs, they're like lightning. They don't happen often. They're often not that flashy. But what happens more often is that there's thousands really of these little moments, these little actions that we take where we're trusting ourselves, we're trusting each other, and that all contributes to when we have those breakthroughs, or at the very least, to allowing us to enjoy ourselves as we're moving forward until those breakthroughs happen. And for me, that's the real story behind why France keeps winning, because they're trusting themselves and they're trusting their contributions and they're trusting the cohesion and the fabric of the team. And that's what's bringing them ahead that way. So if these conversations resonate with you, if they give you the chance to see maybe yourself or the people around you a little bit differently, I'd love to have you join me, subscribe, then you'll know when new information comes out. And leave comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time then, thanks for being here. Be well.